So recently I had the chance to play 13 Sentinels. It's a game developed by Vanillaware and it's published by Atlus. It's pretty hard to talk about the game because there's so much that happens, but I'm going to try my best to explain my thoughts on the game without spoiling it. So I should probably start by explaining the way the game works. It's about 70% visual novel and 30% gameplay. There are 13 main characters you play as during the visual novels and gameplay sections, hence why the game's called 13 Sentinels. Each character is from a different time period: 1945, 1985, 2025, 2065, and 2105. They're all from different time periods. There's a whole bunch of time travel involved and lost memories. It can be pretty confusing, and when you first start the game, you're not really going to understand what's going on in the game. Around a few hours in, you're going to probably be able to make some theories about what's going on in the game. Most of them will probably be pretty wrong. But as you play the game, you'll start to slowly understand what's going on more and more as you progress throughout the stories. The game has a lot to unpack. It's probably pretty hard to be able to sit through it in the first few hours of the game and be able to expect an amazing story. It's a game that takes quite a bit for you to fully understand what's going on, because there's just so much that happens at the beginning as it introduces each character bit by bit. The events in the game will take place a bit out of order. You will have certain characters which you have to play to unlock other characters, so you won't be playing it in a whole order and you have to piece things together like a huge mystery. Despite how many plot points there are, the game ends up having a satisfying conclusion despite it only being 30 hours long, and it's honestly amazing how well they're able to execute it in such a short amount of time and the amount of plot points that can happen at once. The characters are often shipped together throughout their stories, and their interactions with each other is pretty fun. It's what really sells the characters and makes you like them a whole lot more. The main premise of the game is it's a sci-fi mech game where you fight against the kaiju who are going to invade Earth, and you pretty much just have to get in the Sentinels and fight them. The combat sections of the game are pretty fun. It's a strategy RPG where when you control the characters, time pauses, where if you're not controlling any characters, it moves in real time. The game does have quite a bit of mechanics, from EMPs to flying stuff to missiles to low ground attacks. There's quite a lot you have to do and quite a bit you have to learn, and you have to play around certain enemies with certain characters and certain abilities. My favourite part about the combat is dropping a super huge missile on enemies and just seeing huge damage numbers and explosions. It's extremely satisfying to do that. You also have to make quite a balanced team with each generation Sentinels. First generation are normally pretty good for single target DPS, second generation are pretty good for laying like sentries, taunts and all of that. Third generations are very good for AoE, and fourth generations have pretty good movement. There's not a single character in this game that I dislike, and I especially like Hijiyama, Minami, and Okino. Despite the serious nature of the game, it also has some funny moments.
Are you trying to be a jerk? Hey, asshole. Turn the TV back on.
Can't you be a bit cuter about it?
Please, I'm way cuter than you'll ever be.
Throughout the game, you'll explore all the different time periods that I mentioned, and most of them have already been destroyed by the kaiju, and so the last timeline that's left is 1985. 1985 is the last line of defense, and it's some pretty high stakes. The game doesn't hesitate to make you feel on the edge of the seat, whether you're doing the gameplay or the visual novel sections. The story is really engaging throughout the entire game. I can't really go into depth on the plot because there's so much to unravel, and I couldn't do it without spoiling anything. But just know that I would highly recommend this game to anyone, especially if you're a fan of Atlus. Even if the game wasn't developed by Atlus, it's still pretty good for an Atlus fan to enjoy. And to be honest, I'm genuinely curious what the writing process was. It must have been a confusing mess trying to write everything in this game. But either way, this game is definitely a hidden gem. I'd highly recommend it to pretty much most people who are a fan of anime, visual novels, turn-based games. I would highly recommend it. It's a shame a game like this wasn't advertised well by Atlus. It's a game that was only really made popular by word of mouth, and later it got a Switch port because of the fanbase being so supportive of it. The game is only on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation. If you don't have those consoles, I'd probably wait for a PC port, but I wouldn't be too hopeful about it. Either way, please play 13 Sentinels. It was genuinely one of the best Atlus games I've ever played, even though it technically wasn't developed by them, but still. Please play it.